We live in a time of haste. We wake up already thinking about what is missing, rushing from one commitment to another, and often reach the end of the day exhausted, without even remembering to have taken a deep breath. But it hasn't always been this way. Our ancestors, across different cultures, knew how to live in harmony with nature, with the community, and with themselves. They cultivated simple habits, almost invisible, but holding a transformative power. The power to bring calm, clarity, and balance to life. Japan, in particular, still preserves many of these gestures today. Small daily practices that seem ordinary, but carry centuries of wisdom and spirituality. Waking up with the sun, walking barefoot, giving thanks for food, respecting the cycles of nature, all of this was not just routine, it was a philosophy of life. And what if I told you that these same habits can be applied now, in your daily life, even amidst the rush of the modern world? That it's possible to rediscover serenity, without running away from life, but by learning to look at it differently? In this video, you will discover the 7 ancestral habits for a peaceful life. 7 simple yet profound paths that can change the way you wake up, eat, relate to others, and even how you rest. Perhaps the secret of the peace you're looking for isn't in something new, but in something ancient, just waiting to be rediscovered. So take a deep breath, and come with me on this journey back to the origins. Because what you'll hear today may be the first step to living with more calm and fulfillment. Habit 1. Waking up with the sunrise. The day is born, and with it, the soul also awakens. The Japanese opens his eyes at the first breath of light entering the room through the cracks of the shoji. The translucent paper doors that let brightness softly filter in. There is no noise, no shrill alarm. Only the silent presence of the sun announcing a new cycle. He rises slowly, without haste, with the serenity of one who understands that waking up is a ritual, not a race. Before the warm tea, before any words, he approaches the window, breathes deeply, and contemplates the sky painted in orange and pink tones. His body stretches as if accompanying the trees reaching for the warmth of the morning. It is a simple yet complete gesture. Waking up with the sun is, for him, a way of aligning with nature itself. In Japanese tradition, living in tune with the solar cycle is much more than a health matter. It is an act of reverence. The sun is not merely a star that shines, but a symbol of vitality, energy, and constant renewal. By awakening with it, the Japanese not only organizes his body and mind, but also places himself within a universal order, participating in the greater rhythm of life. It is a custom that guards against dispersion, that opens space for mental clarity, and preserves the spirit of simplicity. After all, one who welcomes the day from the first light does so as one who receives a gift, with gratitude and awareness. And you? Have you ever tried waking up with the sunrise, even if only for a few days, to feel how life seems to reorganize within you? Habit 2. Walking barefoot on the earth. The feet touch the ground, and the earth returns silence. The Japanese removes his straw sandals and walks slowly through the garden still wet with dew. Each step is a secret dialogue between skin and soil, an encounter with the roughness of stone, the softness of grass, and the freshness of cool earth. He is not in a hurry, for he is not trying to arrive anywhere. Walking is, in itself, the destination. His feet, freed from any barrier, recognize textures, temperatures, and vibrations that remind the body of its deep connection with nature. His breathing adjusts to the rhythm of his steps, and little by little the mind quiets, as if guided by the cadence of the ground itself. This seemingly simple gesture carries an ancestral philosophy. Walking barefoot is more than physical exercise. It is a plunge into the memory that we belong to the earth. In Japan, the tradition of leaving shoes outside before entering the home reinforces the idea that pure space must be preserved. But even before the home, it is the natural world itself that deserves reverence. The Japanese understands he is not separate from the mountains, rivers, and winds. His body is a continuation of the earth that sustains him. Walking barefoot is, therefore, a rite of reintegration, a way of dissolving the illusion of separation and recognizing the interdependence that sustains life. In this gesture, there is no desire for domination, but for communion. And you, have you ever thought of taking off your shoes and feeling the naked ground beneath your feet, just to remember that you too are an inseparable part of the natural world? Habit 3. Simple and natural eating. Food arrives at the table, and with it also comes the silence of gratitude. The Japanese calmly observes the bowl of white rice, the fresh vegetables, the hot soup releasing gentle aromas. There is no rush in his gestures, for eating is not merely satisfying hunger, it is participating in a ritual. His chopsticks move with care, as if each grain were precious. Before the first bite, he joins his hands and pronounces itadakimasu, a word that carries respect for the life that became food and for those who worked to bring it to him. While eating, he chews slowly, savoring each texture, each aroma, acknowledging the generosity of nature. For him, the act of eating is not limited to nourishing the body, but also nourishing the spirit. In Japanese philosophy, the simplicity of a meal is a sign of spiritual refinement. The table is not dominated by excess, but balanced with small portions, varied colors, and fresh foods. This relationship with food comes from the awareness that everything has a cycle: the seed, the harvest, the preparation, and the sharing. Eating is, therefore, recognizing the interdependence between man and earth. It is no coincidence that Japanese cuisine values seasonal products, as each season offers its own wealth. Discipline in eating, like in other habits, is not a rigid imposition, but a way of living in harmony, avoiding waste, and cultivating reverence. The gesture of giving thanks, of eating slowly, of respecting simplicity, reflects an ancestral philosophy that teaches that true abundance does not lie in quantity, but in mindful attention. Eating consciously is honoring life in its entirety. At the end of the meal, the Japanese once again joins his hands and says "Gochisu-sama deshita," giving thanks not only for the food, but for the entire cycle that made that moment possible. And you, have you ever tried slowing down at your own meal, savoring each bite without distractions, realizing that even in the simplest act there can dwell a profound encounter with life? Habit 4. Silence and contemplation. In empty space, the mind blooms. The Japanese sits before the rock garden, where the carefully raked sand mingles with stones that seem eternal. Words are unnecessary, for silence speaks for itself. The body rests still, the breath finds its rhythm, and the gaze wanders across the minimalist lines of the landscape. Silence is not absence. It is presence in its purest form. The Japanese understands that pausing to contemplate is an act of wisdom, for only those who are quiet can hear what lies within and around them. Zen tradition values silence as a teacher. In Japan, emptiness, ma, is considered fertile space, a place where the mind can expand. Contemplating a garden, a bonsai, or even a lit candle is not distraction, but spiritual practice. In the absence of noise, the deepest layers of the self reveal themselves. Silence has the power to dissolve worries, to bring clarity to choices, to restore strength. In a world that demands speed and productivity, the act of pausing and contemplating becomes almost revolutionary. The Japanese knows that peace does not require much, it only requires being present in the moment. This ancestral habit teaches that silence is not empty of meaning, but full of possibilities. By contemplating the landscape, the Japanese also contemplates himself, recognizing that he is part of the same natural flow. It is in this meeting between the inner and the outer that serenity is born. Silence is path, bridge, and healing. And you, have you allowed yourself to turn off the noise around you and simply contemplate, without hurry, what the moment has to offer? Perhaps in this simple gesture lies the hidden key to a more peaceful life. Habit 5. Living in community. The flame of fire warms more when shared. The Japanese gathers with neighbors, family, and friends around a simple meal or a community task. The gesture is natural. Each offers something of themselves, whether food, work, or simply presence. Hot tea circulates from hand to hand, accompanied by soft words, quiet laughter, and comfortable silences. The Japanese does not place himself at the center, but as part of the whole. He knows that life in community is made of mutual giving, and that we is stronger than I. In Japanese tradition, collectivity has always been a pillar. From farming villages to modern cities, there is the notion that group harmony sustains individual peace. The philosophy of social harmony, has endured for centuries as a silent guide. Working together, sharing responsibilities, respecting others' opinions. All of this strengthens the invisible fabric that keeps society united. The Japanese learns from an early age that caring for collective well-being is also caring for oneself, for there is no separation between individual and group. This way of living reflects an ancestral value. Community is not an obligation, but a space of welcome. Being together is preserving the memory of ancestors, keeping tradition alive, building a lighter present. Community does not erase individuality. On the contrary, it expands identity by connecting it to a larger whole. In tea ceremonies, harvest festivals, and collective tasks, there is always a sense of interdependence and gratitude. And have you noticed how your life gains more meaning when shared? Have you thought about cultivating deeper bonds, about offering a little of yourself to nourish the warmth of community? Perhaps therein lies the true antidote to modern loneliness. Habit 6. Rituals of gratitude. The rain falls, and the Japanese gives thanks. The rice blossoms, and he gives thanks. The meal ends, and once again he joins his hands before his chest and gives thanks. The gesture is repeated countless times throughout the day, like a silent melody crossing his routine. The Japanese does not see gratitude as formality, but as vital practice, a way of recognizing the hidden beauty in what is ordinary. Even before the smallest things, a cup of tea, the fragrance of a flower, a gentle breeze, he finds reason for reverence. The ancestral philosophy behind this habit is clear. To give thanks is to live in humility before the universe. In Shinto and Buddhist traditions, life is seen as a constant gift, sustained by invisible forces worthy of acknowledgement. By giving thanks, the Japanese does not merely express courtesy. He reaffirms his bond with nature, with the gods, with the ancestors. It is a practice that reinforces the awareness of impermanence. Nothing is guaranteed, everything is transient, and therefore each moment deserves gratitude. This habit shapes a serene mind, less attached to what is lacking and more conscious of blessings. By living in gratitude, the Japanese learns to see abundance where others see scarcity. He understands that the simple already contains fullness. Thus, gratitude becomes an axis of balance, a shield against anxiety, a bridge between the fleeting and the eternal. And have you stopped to give thanks today, not for something grand, but for the simple act of being alive? Have you noticed how gratitude changes the way we even look at challenges? Habit 7. Respecting natural cycles. The Japanese goes to bed early, for he understands the body needs rest when the sun departs. In winter, he accepts stillness, retreat, a slower rhythm. In spring, he follows the blossoming of flowers, the renewed energy that calls for movement. Each season is an invitation, and he accepts it with humility. He does not fight against time, does not force nature to bend to his will. On the contrary, he allows himself to be guided by its cycles. Just as the river flows, just as trees shed their leaves, he knows that life is made of rhythms that cannot be hurried. Ancestral Japanese wisdom values impermanence, expressed in the concept of mono no aware, the awareness of the beauty of the transient. The Japanese understands that life moves in cycles of birth, growth, decline, and renewal. To respect these cycles is to respect existence itself. That is why traditional calendar celebrations mark not only dates, but nature's changes. The blooming of the sakura, the autumn full moon, the rice harvest. Everything has its time, and each time deserves to be fully lived. This habit teaches an essential lesson. By aligning with natural cycles, the mind finds peace, for it abandons the illusion of control. Resisting time is a source of suffering. Embracing it is the path to serenity. The Japanese knows that, just like the seasons, the human soul also needs phases of retreat and expansion. Nothing is permanent, but everything is precious. And have you tried observing the cycles of your own life with more acceptance? Have you thought of trusting time more, letting it guide your rhythm instead of trying to dominate it? Perhaps in this gesture of surrender lies the key to a more peaceful life. Conclusion. Throughout this experience, we discovered 7 ancestral habits that have crossed generations and reached us as small beacons of wisdom. Each gesture, waking with the sun, walking barefoot, giving thanks for food, cultivating silence, sharing life in community, Honoring gratitude and respecting nature's cycles is not just an isolated practice, but an invitation to live with more awareness. They remind us that life does not need to be a constant race. We can choose to slow down, simplify, and find peace in the small things. Perhaps you felt that some of these habits are already part of you, even if quietly. Or perhaps you realized you need to rediscover them, because the rush of modern life has buried that wisdom. Either way, the most important thing is to take the first step. You don't need to change everything at once, but to gradually bring back these gestures that can transform not only your routine, but the way you perceive life itself. And now I want to know, which of these 7 habits touched your heart the most? Which one would you like to start practicing today? Write it down in the comments, because your experience can inspire others as well. If this video resonated with you, if it awakened something within you, remember to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications so you won't miss the next content. Together, we will continue this journey in search of a calmer, fuller, and more peaceful life. See you in the next video. And until then, take a deep breath. Give thanks for the present moment. And remember, true peace is already within you. It only needs to be cultivated.